Okay, so hello everybody. If people pop in, that's all right. I'm going to share my screen to the PowerPoint. Okay, so I guess I do want to start out by saying hello and welcome. My name is Kelsey Cleland. I am Program Director for the Goldie Initiative, and I am very excited to be here and see so many of you today. Just a little bit about me first. I am from Chicago, born and raised in Chicago, and then I went to University of Wisconsin-Madison to study film and advertising, and then I am also currently in graduate school getting my master's of nonprofit management. So I get the grad school grind personally. And my main responsibilities as program director include being the main point of contact for all Goldie scholars and alumni, which is the best part of my job by far. And then, but I do lots of things that make it run, such as tons of event planning stuff, lots of fundraising efforts, lots of, like I said, behind the scenes kind of maintenance. And yeah, so that's a little bit about me. I would love if everybody could just put their names in the chat. So like your name, your school, your graduation year, and if you work for a company, what company do you work for? If you're not enrolled yet, that's okay, but just a little bit about you so I could see it and see later as well who I'm talking to. Our agenda, we're gonna go over our mission as a nonprofit and kind of our organizational history. And then we're gonna do a little bit of a deep dive into our program, what it is, what it involves, the eligibility, participation requirements, and then we'll go to Chelsea for her perspective on things. And then we'll get into some nitty gritty on application, the timeline, interview process, etc. before questions. So the mission of the Goldie Initiative is to prepare women for senior leadership roles in all sectors of commercial real estate. The Goldie Initiative does this by providing scholarship support for graduate study, mentorship, and networking opportunities to women with high potential of becoming leaders in the real estate industry. So that's our mission. Everything always comes back to this. A little bit of history. If you don't know who Goldie B. Wolfe-Miller is, I'd recommend Googling her. She has a fascinating history. A lot of it's on our website, but this is a little snapshot of who she is. She really shattered some glass ceilings in the 80s and 90s and worked for Arthur Rubloff and Company, which was like the premier agency at the time and was 6 years running top broker nationwide, regardless of male or female. And she started her own company, Goldie B. Wolfe & Co. And then eventually sold that in 1998. And she always jokes that, when she okay, good. She always jokes that like when she retired, some people write a book or some people travel, but she got married. That was her, I don't know, third or fourth husband. She jokes about it and it's awesome. But this is Jack Miller. He is also a widely successful person that has huge philanthropical missions in his life and his organizations. So he really helped her think about strategic philanthropy. And with that influence, in 2007, she started the Goldie B. Wolfe-Miller Women Leaders in Real Estate Initiative at Roosevelt University, which was our original name. And now we are the Goldie Initiative, and we are our own 501c3 nonprofit. And after that, so in 2007, we started at Roosevelt. In 2015, we became our own 501c3. And since then, you can see a little bit of a snapshot of how we've started to really exponentially expand to different schools. I know a lot of you on here might not be from any of these schools yet, and we're excited to meet people from new schools. Last year, we moved to Cornell, Georgetown, and UIC, University of Illinois, Chicago, which was great to get some people, some representation from the East Coast as well, and we're just keep on rolling, keep on expanding here. Okay, so program components. at its core, we're a scholarship program. We support women in graduate school financially. And that is $7,500 per year up to 2 years. And you can be a Goldie Scholar for longer than 2 years, but the cap on the scholarship is $15,000. And that comes like in $7,500 payments in September for the whole year. And some people either take longer to graduate or they're just in a longer program. And you could still get the benefits of the other aspects of the Goldie Initiative, but that's where the scholarship ends. This was the first year that we've increased it as well from 10,000 to 15,000, which was amazing. Since the beginning, we've had a huge mentoring program. As one of our biggest values is a focus on mentoring. So each of the Goldie Scholars gets assigned a personal mentor, a Goldie mentor. And that's somebody who you can build a relationship with, somebody that we choose specifically based on your feedback and your input of what you're looking for in a mentor. So please, think about that and consider that when applying. There's a question in the application at some point, I think, that mentions, where you're at. I would recommend mentioning that you're excited for a mentor. We also have lots of other mentorship opportunities that I won't really get into today, but we have a website called Mentorship Rocket where you can kind of go on and pick from like a menu of mentors and do like one-time Zoom calls with people. That's really cool. And then networking. So we're in commercial real estate, right? Networking is huge. It's a huge value of Goldies and of the organization as a whole. We create lots of our own kind of personal custom networking events, but we also partner with a lot of people that have events and give us tickets. There's a lot across the board. We give all of the Goldie Scholars memberships to ULI, and they have lots of events going on. So we really just want to give you like a plethora of opportunities to put yourself out there in the most safe and comfortable way. I think we make it pretty freaking easy to network. It's really, you're among friends with us. So let me admit this person. Here's a photo as well from the Breakfast with Penny Pritzker event at the top here. And that's one of our, premier annual events that's really special. Gives you an opportunity to get in the room with one of the most powerful women in the world. And it's a really cool event. So we try to do stuff like that where it's connecting you with people that you probably otherwise would not be connected to. Unless you and, JB Pritzker are BFFs. Leadership development. So another aspect of our programming is that we do kind of career leadership training. And we do that by creating a lot of like webinars and events where we bring in experts either from our own board or we bring in outside facilitators to talk about topics like negotiation and personal brand and executive presence. And it's really great. I think you can there's a lot of takeaways from it, but it's another really great opportunity for you to network as well. And that leads to the cohort building. And I'll just say a quick note about, I think it's a really awesome opportunity to meet other women who are, around your age, going through the same stuff, going to graduate school, trying to make it all work. And you can make a lot of really great friends through the cohort and going to these leadership sessions and learning, about each other's insecurities and strengths and all that. So I think it's a really awesome group of women to be associated with. And then one quick note on job opportunities. We're not a job placement center by any means, but people email me all the time with, hey, I have a job opening. Hey, I have a job opening. Can you send this to your network? Can you send this to the scholars? So I send lots of job related emails. I post them on social media. This is a plug for our LinkedIn. Everyone should follow us on LinkedIn because I also try to post job opportunities there sometimes. So you get so many jobs via networking, and our network is really strong. So although we're not explicitly a job, search organization, it's a huge benefit, I think, among many other things. So those are the program components, the core ones. I'm not going to read this whole thing. This is from 2 years ago. We do a impact assessment every year, but this one has my favorite quote on it. It says, "I've gained credibility and respect from the ability to walk into a room, meeting, or event and mention that I'm a Goldie Scholar," which I think really sums up a lot of people's opinions of the Goldie Initiative and being a scholar. And I'll send out this deck afterwards if you want to read it further. I also yoinked a page from our latest annual report. This is the 2020 annual report, and I recommend you, I'm just plugging all the things. Go to our LinkedIn, do all the stuff, but also our 2020 annual report just came out. It's on our website under About Us, and it has a lot of great stuff in it. But this is one page that kind of summarizes what we were up to last year. You know, we did 35 plus virtual events. We increased our scholarship amount. In the survey, 100% said that they gained understanding about their personal strengths in order to achieve success. And, you know, we had our largest cohort ever last year at 25 from 13 different universities. 3 scholars started their own companies, 3 new universities, blah, blah, blah. So this was just a snapshot of our growth last year, and hopefully shows that we will continue to grow. We have very big plans in store. So a little bit on program eligibility. So it's a female-only scholarship, and the scholarships are merit-based and not dependent on financial need. You need to have a bachelor's from an accredited college or university, and then enrollment in an accredited graduate school. It says hybrid program or virtual and future in-person events allows out-of-state participation. So a couple things here. If you're not enrolled yet, that's okay. I hope you're in the application process of applying to your school, but just keep me posted on that. If you aren't enrolled yet, we can push it to basically the interview stage in July, but we can't offer you a scholarship if you're not enrolled. So that's one note there. And then, as you can imagine, our entire program went virtual this past year. And like many other people, we saw incredible silver linings from that. One of which is that we could get more participation from people, because we had already expanded to like Ann Arbor and Madison and U of I. And so, you know, doing cocktail hour networking events on like a Thursday at 5 in downtown Chicago, just, I mean, it's crazy to even think that we expected people to come. Now that we, you know, we can do it just from the comfort of our own home now, and people from all over the country can participate in the Goldie Initiative and our leadership seminars and all this stuff, and that we're going to keep a lot of it virtual. I mean, especially for the next year, depending on obviously the law, but as even over the next few years and moving forward, we're going to keep a significant portion of it virtual so everybody can participate and expand the geographic area. So we used to have a like mandatory 3 years experience in commercial real estate, and we've removed that as a mandatory thing, and now it's just recommended. And that's because the rationale behind that piece is we want people who are committed to the commercial real estate industry, but we understand that a lot of things go into that, I guess. We've had plenty of scholars who go straight from undergrad to grad school. They do kind of like a special program where they get their MBA or their master's in real estate right afterwards, and they're committed to commercial real estate. If you're studying commercial real estate, you're probably pretty committed to it. So that's just a recommended thing, but I say that to keep in mind that at the end of the day, we are very into commercial real estate, which I guess is, it sounds like a broken record, but that's just something to keep in mind when you're applying, I think. But we take people from all different types of programs. You know, we have someone studying sustainability, we have public policy scholars, we have law students, across a really big spectrum of programs. It's not just master's in real estate anymore. So yeah, take that as you will. And then minimum 1 year left in grad school. We took lots of 1 year scholars this past year. So that's totally fine. 2 years is nice because then you can get the most out of the program. You really get to build your relationships a little bit more with the mentors, and you get to be part of 2 cohorts. So you get to meet more scholars on a personal level. But that's to say, it's great to just participate for 1 year as well. If you're graduating in December by chance, talk with me. We sometimes make exceptions for people who only have half a year, but it's a conversation for sure. Okay, I think one more slide before I stop talking and give it to somebody else. So typical Goldie scholar, this is a question I get asked a lot about who the heck are you looking for, right? And I think at the end of the day, you know, if you can articulate your goals and your dreams and where you're at and where you want to go, I think that's huge. I think written and oral communication is big. And being able to tell your story in a way that you don't have to have your next 5-10 year plan laid out exactly, but you know, we want to see your drive and your ambition. And I think all scholars have that in common. They're also passionate about being a leader in the industry. They are open and they desire connection with a mentor, and they're open to learning from a mentor. And they're willing to contribute their own personal experiences. They're willing to be open and give back to the initiative after they graduate is also a huge benefit. So those are just some things that this typical scholar has in common with each other. But as I mentioned, we take scholars from a variety of different schools, different locations, different family status. You know, we have moms, not moms. We have, you know, different programs, different, there's some like people who have immigrated from all over the world come and have participated. So there's no real average picture. I did end up finally taking the average of the age. So the average age is like 29-ish, but then we have some outliers all across the spectrum from like 21 to 50. So don't let your age stop you from applying. If you're self-conscious about that at all, we take a full range of ages, but the average is probably in that like 30-ish range. Okay, I'm going to stop talking. We're going to hand it off to Chelsea Moore, who's on the phone, and she's going to give a little bit of her perspective on what it's like being an actual Goldie scholar.
Thank you for having me, Kelsey. I just looked at everyone's backgrounds and schools in the chat, and it sounds like you guys are more than qualified. All you have to do is show up as yourself in your interview, be excited about it, be open to mentorship, just as Kelsey explained, and you'll be fine. But the Goldie initiative has actually been more than what I knew that I was signing up for. It's been great, from the mentorship to the leadership development, which is probably the best part of it, in my opinion. It's awesome. I feel that I came into the program not thinking that I would be qualified, because my background is in urban planning and policy. And I do have aspirations in real estate, particularly around affordable housing. But apparently Goldie and Kelsey and the rest of the crew, they love me. So I'm here. But Goldie is amazing. I really didn't realize how much of a pioneer and just a powerhouse she is in the real estate industry. She's very invested into our experience as Goldie scholars. We all were able to have one-on-ones with her earlier this year, or it was last year, I can't remember. And she just gave me like such great advice on my career transition. So I work in accounting, but I'm switching my career to community development, economic development, more focusing in that area. And I think that was the biggest thing that really appealed for me. It was the mentorship, because I needed a career mentor. And I actually just had a meeting with my mentor before this meeting, because we're prepping for the pitch with Penny, which is next week I'm so excited about that. I've been excited about that since March. Who gets this opportunity to meet Penny Prisker? If you don't know who I'm talking about, you should Google her, but I had to Google her myself. So opportunities like that, I never thought I would be able to meet Penny Prisker, pitch to her. And even just last week, we had a prep meeting for this pitch that we're going to have. And the mentors gave amazing advice. And one of the mentors said, she said, "Oh, you're fabulous. Like, just make sure you're not selling yourself short and really speak to all the things that you've accomplished." And I think that really just like made me even love the mentorship and the leadership development, because you realize how much experience you've gained over the years and how much you really should pay attention to how you show up in certain spaces. And I think the leadership training or retreats that we've had over the last year has made sure that we are polished in our resume and how we show up emotionally as leaders, as women in these spaces. So it's really more than just a $15,000 scholarship. That's great. But the beauty of it is you get to have a network upon graduating. And I have one more year. So I'm very excited that I get to be with Goldie for another year for the fall 2021-22 year, because hopefully we're doing things in person. And I'll speak to the virtual part of it as well. That actually worked out extremely well for me because I do work full time. So I was able to attend everything. I don't think I missed anything because everything was online. And it worked out. Of course, we all wanted to meet each other in person, but we had happy hours. We've done the retreats online, and it really was just more flexible for me, instead of having to deal with Chicago traffic to get downtown to meet with people. So I think that may have worked for a lot of people. But I will say that I am excited to finally meet Kelsey in person, hopefully in the fall, Goldie. Hopefully I'll get to meet Penny again for the next pitch, next go around. So it's exciting, ladies. I definitely highly recommend that you all apply. The Goldie Instagram page just highlighted me today, which I said some of the same things, but check out the Instagram page. You'll see other just perspectives from the different scholars, and Kelsey spoke to this, but there is a wide range of scholars. Some of us are undergrads. Some have been in real estate for years and they're in their master's program. And we've just met some amazing alumni as well in the program that I personally connected with on LinkedIn, just to make sure that I'm really just meeting with people who are in this field, since this is a space that I'm going to be moving into. So I think I said everything. Kels, you can let me know if I missed out on something.
No, I really appreciate it. And it makes me, I appreciate you chatting about the virtual stuff too, because it's one thing for me, but it's another thing for you who's like experiencing it all virtually. And I will say that, you know, no matter if you apply or not, no matter if you get accepted or not, I want to be your cheerleader. Something that always kind of like gets me since I first started working here is, all right, let me say, I first started working here. I was like, oh, I'm going to be working with all these women in commercial real estate. I don't know anything about commercial real estate. They're in graduate school. Like, are these going to be really intimidating women? And no, not only are they not intimidating, everybody's super nice, obviously, but they have so much imposter syndrome, and so many of them aren't sure in themselves. So my favorite part of my job is that you can do it. Everybody on this call, like you're already here and you're already working hard and you're already going to grad school. Like, kick those thoughts to the curb. I've had them more than plenty in my life, so I know that's easier said than done, but I just want to say, like, you're going to be great. You're going to be great no matter what. So you're doing better than most just by being here today. So please connect with me on LinkedIn if you haven't already, and just keep in touch with me. I want to see all of your journeys, if you apply or you don't or whatever. So that's a huge part of my job as well. I could add that as like part of the components list. Is just kind of being a professional cheerleader. So that's the best part.
Kelsey is great. Kelsey has been very accessible. We have a group chat Even when we did the gala, which was virtual, Kelsey made sure that we were all prepared, that we could meet beforehand. There is a women empowerment element to the organization. It's not that they promote it. Well, obviously it's women in leadership, but you really do feel that from just the leadership, Kelsey, Karen, even the prior director as well. And you guys can connect with me on LinkedIn. I remember this time last year, I was interviewing and I reached out to one of the scholars just to get tips on the interview and what they might ask for, which I believe that Kelsey is going to send you all just that information. But I highly recommend, if you have questions, reach out to me. Goldie and the team are very laid back, in my opinion. It wasn't super intense, but you definitely want to be professional. You definitely want to come prepared, answering the questions that they're going to give you prior to the interview. So just be yourself, as I said, and be able to articulate what it is that you want to do, just as Kelsey mentioned in the presentation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I'll touch base on the interview process in a little bit further. But yeah, you're right. They want you to be comfortable and do well. Once you get into this like Zoom room with a bunch of people, it can feel overwhelming. Goldie will be there. So it kind of feels intense, but they really just want you to do well. They want you to be confident. So I think my biggest tip is try to fake it till you make it confidence-wise, whether you have it or not. Some people do, so I hope I'm not being, I don't know, redundant, but that's a great tip though that you mentioned, Chelsea, about connecting with current scholars or alumni. If you go to our website, there is a current scholars tab. It's like meet the scholars, and then on the front page, I think there's even, maybe not on the front page anymore, but there's a composite of all the scholars. So I'd recommend, if your school is already one of the schools that we have, why not reach out to a scholar who's currently at your school? So then you meet somebody who's in school with you, and you meet somebody who's a Goldie scholar who can give you even more kind of personalized tips. Thank you, Chelsea. It's in the chat. Okay, I'm going to share and kind of finish out my presentation because I know we're at 1 o'clock. Okay, sorry, I'm going a little long. Again, it's recorded, so if you have to leave, I understand. I'm not going to go too far into participation requirements. You have to stay in good standing. You have to stay enrolled. You have to kind of make an effort to go to our events. I'm not going to say you have to attend, 7. I'm not, I'm kind of past the point of trying to micromanage attendance of things, but I can tell when people make an effort, and I really appreciate it. If you don't attend anything, I'll reach out and kind of have a conversation with you. We really want everyone to attend the Goldie Gala on September 23rd. So pencil that in. Again, whether you apply or not, whether you get in or not, it's a fabulous event and it supports women in real estate. Progress reports, commitment to participate with a mentor. Yeah, all the stuff I've said. So the application is at goldieinitiative.org/scholarship, and then there's a link that says application, which will bring you to this page, and it's built into our website. This link exactly, if you're interested, is goldieinitiative.org/scholarship app. But the application includes 3 professional or academic letters of reference. And we encourage you to submit one from your current manager, if possible. 2 essay questions, your current resume, your official transcript from your undergrad, and if you have your GMAT and GRE, you can add them. Those are very optional as well. Here are some overview tips on these items. I will say, I think if you haven't already started asking for letters of rec, I think those are sometimes what takes the longest, because you're like depending on somebody else to write something for you. You could write your essays the night before and I wouldn't know the difference if you're anything like me and procrastinator extraordinaire, but don't do that. But with the letters of rec, sometimes it can be a little bit of a time thing because you have to follow up. And then as far as sometimes I get questions on who to ask. And like I said, if you can ask your direct manager, that's great, because then they know that you're might be enrolled in this program that like takes time out of your workday sometimes. But if you just started at your job, I understand, that's okay. Don't ask your manager of 2 days, for more than you want, more than you're comfortable with. So, but here's the thing with letters of rec, right? It's like, if you ask the CEO of your company that you've never met before, he might write some generic thing and or 2 sentences about you, if you don't know them well, but they have the title and the company and all this stuff that looks really nice on paper. But on the other end, if you ask your mom for a letter of rec, they're going to write you the most beautiful letter ever written, but they're your mom, right? So I think there's some sort of game that you have to play of who knows me, who will write something, who's a good writer, I mean, just to be frank, and then who also works at a commercial real estate company, who who has a nice title. I mean, not just to be frank with you, I think that helps sometimes, who you're associated with and who knows you well. But there's also lots of students, like I mentioned, that haven't been in the working world for that long. So you can go to professors. I don't recommend it as much to go to coaches. Sometimes that's a little bit of a strange one, but if that's who knows you and your leadership skills, then make it work. You'll do fine. I think you have the option to do 3, or not the option. You have to turn in 3, so you can have a kind of variety of people who are from different parts of your life. You can. There's an option in the form to add additional attachments, which if you have an additional letter of rec you want to do, if you have, I'm going to stop sharing. If you have an additional transcript you want to add, if you have a note about your undergrad, if you don't like your undergraduate GPA for any reason, that's one example of you writing, saying why your GPA was that way. Or if you have a large gap in your resume, there's an option to add a note to address those things, just so we know and understand, right? So then 2 essay questions are pretty straightforward. My advice is to obviously answer them, answer the question, but I think it's the same questions every year. So feel free to get creative, feel free to use them as a vessel to tell your story and to show who you are a little bit. Don't be too dry, I guess is my point. I think it's really nice when somebody says, my history of immigrating from China and seeing how they do affordable housing over there has really inspired me to get my graduate degree in XYZ. Just you're like, oh wow, that's really interesting. I understand their motives now. So those I think are some of the better essays that I read. When you infuse it with your personality and your perspective. But really, I think we have a scoring system for the written and the in-person. If we have 2 schools for undergrad, should we attach all transcripts? Yeah. If you have multiple undergrad transcripts, go ahead and attach both. I'm really only looking for official transcripts from your undergrad. So if you want to attach your grad school grades, that's fine as well. But you don't have to pay for it. I hate making people pay for their transcripts. It's annoying. So I'm okay. I don't think anyone's photoshopping their grades here. I trust you. Don't abuse my trust, but I do trust you. And so essays, letters of rec, resume, transcripts. Another note on transcripts, you can get them to me any which way. In order to submit your form online, you have to have the essays attached, I believe, and your resume. And it's nice if everything's attached, but you can send me externally the other transcripts, other things that are going on in your application. If the school wants to send it to me directly, if your boss wants to send his letter of rec to me directly, or his or her letter of rec, then that's fine. Whatever works, I'm flexible. What else? Oh, one thing before I forget. The form online is there's no like save progress button. So I recommend like reading the whole thing. It's nothing crazy. You should be writing your essays separately and attaching them as like a PDF or a Word doc anyway. And then it's just filling out your contact information and your emergency contact and the relationships with your university contacts, stuff like that. So do it all in one go. I would hate for someone to walk away and like time out. So I'm sure I have more stuff that I'm forgetting, but I will open it up now to Q&A. Does anyone want to unmute and ask a question?
I have a quick question. So I know you said that there are 3 professional letters or academic letters of recommendation. Do you recommend having like 3 letters from like your current employer, like from different levels, or would you like to see, I don't know, like maybe a letter of rec from people that you volunteer with, or somebody like a previous employer, or where should all of them come from?
Yeah. I think a previous employer is good if you did like one from your current, one from your previous. I mean, one from volunteering is also a great option, or a professor as well. But I think it all comes back to like who has the title and who is going to write the best thing about you. So I'm kind of hesitant to say that you should get them all from your current company, because
Yeah,
you might not know everyone at the, like get the person at the bottom level out of there and do the top 2 level, or whoever knows you best, right? And then I think previous managers also probably know you really well, and have like rose-colored glasses on your experience together, so they'll hopefully be kind and write something nice. Yeah.
okay, thanks.
I'll look in the chat as well, but if you have questions, feel free to unmute.
Sorry, Kelsey, could you just go over dates when
yeah.
the application close? When would you like things
Oh,
by?
Yes, so sorry. So timeline. Sure. So due June 15th, you have to hit submit on the form. Again, if you have any concerns about that, email me, just keep in communication. If you need to have a letter of rec come in afterwards, I won't tell anybody, you can let me know. From June 16th to June 30th, I will be kind of compiling all the stuff that you've sent in, making sure that everybody has checked the boxes of 3 letters of rec and 2 essays and all that stuff. And if you've checked all the boxes and you're looking good, most likely you will be asked for an interview. The dates for the interview haven't been set yet, but that will be in July at some point. And those are like 20 minutes. Like Chelsea said, it's, come confident, but it's basically talking about yourself, telling your story, and having good written and oral communication. And then last year we announced the scholars, the new cohort, on August 1st, in order to kind of kickstart our August with virtual programming. I hope to do that again. Typically we do that like mid-August at the very latest. So hopefully August 1st, but I don't want to overpromise. So just a heads up. In August, we start with kind of kickoff events, our school year kickoff, mentor mingles, so you can meet potential mentors. Mentors don't actually get assigned till like October or so. So it's a little while before that happens. So yeah, that's the application timeline. Other questions?
Just to be clear, so the in-person interviews are Zoom interviews, right?
Yes. Probably probably an old document that I've updated. Yeah, it's basically a virtual version of what we used to do, where you come into the main room and I'll be there and chatting with you and getting you ready. And then I'll put you in the breakout room with the selection committee, and that'll be about 20 minutes. And then I will encourage everyone to leave the whole meeting. Otherwise, you'll just pop back into the main room with me and I'll be talking to the next person. So It's all virtual right now. And it's also faster and easier. I don't know. There's pros and cons to both. It's really nice to meet people in person and kind of really get your physical presence. I mean, I have been talking, like I mentioned, about the Pritzker event. And part of this virtual Penny Pritzker event, part of the tips are like, what does your background look like? Where's your eye contact point on your computer? If you look into your webcam, is that where your eye contact is for the viewer? Or, you know, are you wearing things? If you have glasses, do you have incredible glare? So I think about these things. Sometimes like a really interesting background is like a really great point of conversation. But otherwise I would just do your normal thing. Okay, thank you, Shelly. And I know we're at 1:15, so I've taken more of your time than I originally asked for. I'll be on for a little bit if anybody wants to talk to me personally, but thank you. Thank you for coming, and email me any questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
See, don't forget to stay on.
Okay, I'm gonna stay.
Thanks.